All right, so today we're going to talk to you about how to reach new people through digital marketing in 2021. A lot has changed, as you know, and I can do a whole conversation on digital presence and the value and importance of that. I will say this, I think it's time for us as pastors to stop berating people to show up physically in the church and maybe start creating a better experience as well as going where people are. For instance, very few people are utilizing a lot of the digital platforms out there. And, example, TikTok, there are over 1 billion users active on TikTok every month. And very few churches are doing that well. But we do want to help you get more people to physically show up or at least learn more about your church. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today in this presentation. So I've actually invited a new friend to join me. This is Max Lyons. If you don't know Max, man, let me just tell you, I met him because someone asked a marketing question on an ARC group, and it was an answer that was far superior to any answer I had. And for about 5 days, I was really insecure. And then I'm like, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them. So, I feel like I'm kind of the Dallas Cowboys of marketing, and Max Lyons is kind of the Golden State Warriors of marketing. Okay. I know that's basketball and football, but he just really knows his stuff, and he can introduce himself a little bit here. But just so much experience working with some massive churches like Hillsong and Celebration and different ones, and just really, really smart. And not only that, he's planning a church. So he is in it with us, guys. And I think you're going to love. I've learned so much from this guy. And so I wanted to add some value to you through his experience as well. So if you don't know anything about me, I planted a church about 3 years ago called SoCo Church. And we had an incredible launch. We were a parachute church. I knew a couple of people in the area, but we had about 153 people on our launch team, and we launched with 627 people. And that led into our very first Easter about 4 months into a church, and we already had over 1,100 people show up. Now, if you know anything about me, it's not because I had a big following. It's not because I'm, a great evangelist. I have a background in marketing. And so I knew how to really utilize digital strategies in order to get butts in seats. And it worked really well. And so that's what we've continued to do. And I've learned that over the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything, that some of those strategies need to change, be updated as technology in the world has changed. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And Max is going to help us with that. So Max, why don't you take it from here?
Sounds good. Well, hello everyone. If we haven't met, my name is Max. Great to meet you. And I think I had a little bit of a different route to starting a church. I think a lot of people, the pastoring side of things comes really naturally, and then they have to kind of grow in the marketing side. Whereas my first job out of college was helping Fortune 500 companies redo their marketing, and got a job at a tech startup, and was their marketing guy, doubled the number of clients they had within a year. So the marketing side has been my passion. And so I had to learn, like, how do you preach, and I had to learn like the pastoral things, whereas the marketing side of things was my background. And so that's come a little bit easier. But in the session today, we want to just talk through a few things that are going to help you with this. I mean, Brad, I don't know if you want to talk about your launch.
Yeah, I mean, I just shared briefly that, this is a photo from our first Easter, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, we're just a few months old as a church, but all of these people, it's so weird to think that everyone in that room right there, and, we did 4 services that day, had 1,100 people, all but 3 of them I had never met prior to a few months before that. And so I really believe in the digital strategy. And I think a lot of churches are missing that. And the cool thing is, if you've already planted your church, this is still a strategy to help you grow your church. You may have missed the mark there, but we want to help you move forward with these strategies.
Definitely. And so I'm going to share a photo of our church on the next page. But before we do that, I just want to say, we moved to the Chicago area right before Christmas. We announced the church in January, kind of right around New Year's Day. And I didn't know a single person. We parachuted in knowing nobody. And if any of you have been to Illinois, you would know Illinois philosophically very different from Texas, Florida. It was full lockdown pretty much through May. So for the first 6 months, we couldn't even meet a person at a coffee shop. We couldn't do in-person gatherings. We couldn't really do anything at all. And so the end of May, we pulled together a worship night at a church building that allowed us to use their space. We didn't even really know if it was 100% legal, because it was kind of in that gray area zone. But we did this gathering, and we had 90 people that showed up to an in-person worship night. And so we literally went from nobody on the launch team, not knowing anybody, and not able to connect with a human being for 5-6 months. And the only way we could connect with people was digital marketing. And so we ran some Facebook ads, we did some things with our website, and we were able to get 90 brand new people to show up. And it was, I think it was like 200 to 300 people that we had connected with, and then 90 actually showed up. Obviously, not everybody can make it on the day. But this was all through digital marketing. This wasn't bumping into people at coffee shops. This was really only through digital marketing. And so I know the photo is not quite as impressive as Brad's, but I mean, for not able to meet a human being and then 6 months in have 90 people coming to an in-person church gathering, really only through digital marketing. And so those same things that have helped us to do that, obviously we're continuing to do it. We're launching the church publicly in January. But this is going to help you if that's something that you want to do as well. And so really quickly, who's the training for? Senior lead pastors, executive pastors, exec team members, board members, elders, campus pastors, marketing and comms teams leaders, connections and follow-up teams leaders, pretty much anybody who wants to reach more people online for their church. And so I know that would apply to everybody on this call, but that's who this is going to help. And so the goal is to help you get more new people to come to your church next weekend. That's what this whole training is going to be about. And in order to do that, you really only need 3 things. You need to, first of all, get more people to your website. A lot of people, especially myself included, church plants, you spend all this money, all this time, you design this great website, and nobody comes to it because no one's linked to your website. You have no authority. There's no one coming to your website. And so you're left scrambling going, how do I reach people? I've spent all this time, all this money on my website, and nobody's coming to it. So we're going to talk through how to get more traffic. The marketing term is traffic. We're going to talk through how to get more people to your website. The second is to turn those website visitors into in-person visitors. And the same thing applies online. If you want to get people to your online campus or online church, the same thing applies. But today we're going to talk specifically about in-person visitors because it's great to look at, some analytic dashboard and it's like you had 100 people come to your website and you're like, great, how many of them actually showed up? And so that's what we're going to talk about today as well. And the third is how to avoid dropping the ball on follow-up. Because if someone comes to your website and they give you their information, how do you make sure that you follow them up well? Because once they give you their details, you're then responsible for stewarding that. And obviously we don't want to drop the ball on that.
Yeah, so Max, let me just touch on that as well, especially for a church planner or a newer church or smaller church. Follow-up is something really easy to drop the ball on. And I remember before we launched, it was easy for me to follow up because that was really my only job. But then when Sundays started coming, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Sunday comes once a week. And I had to now lead a staff. I had to make sure sermon was ready. I had to do all these other things. Follow-up began to be something that I was allowing that to kind of slip through the cracks. And so follow-up still to me is one of the biggest problems we have as churches is we want the data, but then we don't always have the team or the time to actually follow up well. And so anyway, just want to point that out.
Definitely. And so does this actually work? I wanted to actually show like a kind of a real life screenshot. This is my Facebook ads dashboard. So just to show you, we did worship nights in May and in June. I also did schedule a call with the pastors trying to really grow the launch team in the lead up to that. And we spent, about $2,500 total. And we had, I don't mean whatever this equals out to. I mean, but basically it was for anywhere between $6 to $14 I could get a brand new person we'd never connected with before, not just to see my Facebook ad, not just to click my Facebook ad, not just to come to our website, but to actually give me first name, last name, email, phone, and say, hey, I'm really interested in your church. I want to come to your worship night, or I want to find out more about joining your launch team. And so again, this is really the only way that we had to connect with people for the first 6 months that we were in Chicagoland, because everything was on full lockdown. And so,
Yeah.
this is, and obviously, the people that are on launch team now, this investment that we made, the launch team that we have now gives more every month than this entire amount that we invested. And so we
Yeah.
invested 2,500. The launch team members that are in place now give more than that monthly. And so it was an investment that has produced a significant return.
Yeah, can I just point some out too, Max? There's a lot of different people, companies, different things that will show these metrics, and maybe you're used to seeing it like 10 cents a click or something. I want to make sure that you understand this. This is not what he paid to get someone to go to his website. This is what he paid for someone to say, "Hey, here's my information," or "Hey, I'm coming," or "I'm attending something." And being in Chicago at a time when everything was still very much locked down and people were very hesitant to be in any type of crowd, the fact that he got 90 people that have never met him in person to show up to an event is pretty dang amazing. And what I guess I'm trying to say is this strategy works even in a pandemic, even when things are on lockdown. These strategies are absolutely working. And so, yeah, let's move on.
Definitely. And so this is why, and again, we got to get into why, in order to figure out how to fix what we're doing or how to make it better, we got to figure out why oftentimes churches struggle to reach people online. And I think the biggest thing is most of the time, often we just don't know how. Often our website isn't great. We don't know how to run digital ads, so we can't actually get people to our website. We can get people to our website sometimes, but we can't convert them to in-person visitors, and we don't have the right tools. And so I think, as well, oftentimes we want to do something, we just don't know how, and we don't have the right help. And so it's equally important to realize as well, for-profit companies are doing an incredible job of this. They're investing millions, billions of dollars to reach people online, to sell products. And unfortunately, as churches, we're very far behind. And if you look at what marketing for-profit companies spend on marketing, the average established company spends 5 to 12% of their total revenue on marketing. And for a startup, it's higher than that. It's actually 20 to 25%. And I think oftentimes, we're trying to figure out, should I even have a marketing budget a lot of times? And the people, again, churches, we don't compete with each other. We're all on Team Jesus. We're all trying to do the same thing, but we do compete. And we are competing with Netflix. We're competing with Amazon. We're competing with the for-profit companies in our area because we're competing for people's attention. And unfortunately, for-profit companies are doing this a lot better than churches are. And it's really hard to tell somebody about Jesus when they're binge watching Netflix. Right? It's like their head is so deep in all of these, for-profits that are grabbing their attention, and we're kind of left on the back burner, really struggling to get in front of people.
Yeah.
And so the best way for you to reach new people online is through digital marketing. If you want to rank higher in Google, digital marketing. If you want to run ads to get somebody to your website, digital marketing. If you want to make your website better, digital marketing, right? So digital marketing is the key to reaching new people online. And a lot of times I think, culture shifted. People don't look at billboards as much, right? People are like on their phones 24/7. And right or wrong, the culture has shifted that way. And so for churches, we need to figure out how do we get into their phone where they're actually looking in order to tell them about Jesus and tell them about our churches. And
go where they are.
Totally.
Go where they already are. Yeah.
Totally. And so digital marketing is the key to reaching people online. And the main missing link with websites is we can get somebody to our website, but did they actually show up? And that's the missing link for most churches in terms of getting new people to actually come to our churches. And the best way to do that is by getting them to plan a visit on our website. And so we're going to talk about that in more detail. But that if we can understand digital marketing and get somebody to our website and get them to plan a visit, it's going to change the game. And so we want to help you to get more new people to come to your church next weekend. And again, we talked about you need more web traffic. We need to help you figure out how to set up a website that works and then avoid dropping the ball on follow-up. And so let's talk about getting more people to your website. The biggest problem most churches have is that they're frustrated because not many people are coming to their website. Most churches put zero focus on their Google ranking. And right now, I'm a brand new church plant. I don't really have, much credibility in terms of Google, in terms of, what it looks like to rank higher in Google. But I will tell you, with a very, very, very minimal amount of investment, if someone types in church in Naperville, we have just jumped up to the front page of church in Naperville. And obviously it depends on where you're at and browsers and that kind of stuff. But it's actually really easy to rank higher in Google than you would think. Most churches are not running digital ads well, therefore people aren't coming to their websites. And the truth is that digital ads do work, but you must learn how to do them the right way. We need to learn how to do them correctly. And digital ads is the easiest way to get traffic to your website. And so I wanted to just throw it out. Feel free to type it in the chat. What's the goal of a digital ad? Type it in the chat if you have a thought or an answer. What is the goal of a digital ad? You're going to invest money in a digital ad. What are you looking to do?
Somebody said get a click.
Ryan Bradford, getting a PYV. So drive to the Eventor site. Fantastic. Get people to your website. Fantastic. Great answers. I will say the biggest mistake I see churches make with their digital ads is, and I obviously I get targeted for church ads, but a lot of churches will come into my newsfeed, and I've even seen an ad that came through, and it was a pastor looking at the camera, and he goes, "Hey, church, I want to invite you to, something." And I'm not in his church. I don't even know who this person is. I think they were actually in Arizona, which is not even geographically close to me. And so again, if we run digital ads poorly, we might as well be flushing money down the toilet. And so a few people said it. The goal of a digital ad is not to get them to join your church. It is not to get them to show up in person. That is not the goal of a digital ad. The goal of the digital ad is to get people to click the ad. Yeah. If someone clicks the ad, it's a great ad. If someone does not click the ad, or if people aren't clicking, then it's not a great ad. So that is the entirety of what is a digital ad about. Is it about getting them to click?
Hey, and Max, and real quick, sometimes it's not so much about it not being a great ad, but it might be that it's just not set up well. It's not the right audience. Like, for instance, the guy that's trying to tell you you're part of his church and he's in Arizona. So sometimes the content may be good, but it's not a good ad because you didn't set the right audience.
Definitely 100%. Yes, you want to target the right people and get them to click. And so in order to do that, we need to shift how we think about running digital ads. And so instead of running a digital ad, trying to talk about your kids' ministry and your history and, all the things that you love about your church, the only goal of the ad is to create enough curiosity to get the person to click. So the goal of the digital ad is about getting curiosity out of the person where they want to find out more. And then once you have their curiosity, then obviously they're going to click because they want to learn more. And so let's talk about how do you create curiosity. If you are a brand new person, you're not a part of a church, or maybe you're, kind of in a sense, an orphan Christian, where, you're a Christian, but you don't have a local community, then how do you create that curiosity? And in a digital ad, you want to talk about not yourself, you want to talk about them. You want to talk about their problems. You want to talk about their desires. And so whenever I set up a runner digital ad, I do not talk about my church. I do not talk about my kids' ministry. I do not talk about our history. I do not put our vision statement, our mission statement in. I will typically keep the copy very short, and I will either dive into their problems or their desires. And then I'll say, hey, we can help. Click below to find out more. So I'll say something like, are you... especially in the height of the pandemic, a lot of the ads we ran were, are you currently feeling tired, frustrated, lonely? Great. We'd love to help you. And there's a church community that can help you. Click below to find out more. Or, and that kind of diving into their problems. You can also talk about their desires. So, in the next year, do you want to grow more in your relationship with Jesus? Do you want to, build better friendships? Do you want to reach the potential that God has for you? Great. Click below and find out more. We'd love to help you. And so you dive into either their problems or their desires, and then you say, we would love to help you. Click below to find out more. And again, a lot of ads don't even have a clear call to action. You have to write it into your copy. Click below to find out more, or whatever the platform's going to look like. Actually expressly write in whatever you want them to do. And that's how you create curiosity. And then when they click, they then arrive at your website. So the whole goal of a digital ad is to get them to click. And once they click, they then come to your website. So now you have them on your website. And then this is a quick example testimonial I pulled from a church that I've worked with. They ran marketing ads for Easter, and their cost per click was $4.57. And within a year, and again, all we did was they were trying to sell people on their Easter service and their kids ministry, and their lead pastors were amazing and all this stuff. And we just changed it to, are you looking for an Easter service near you, ? And we talked about a few of their problems or desires and different variations of the copy. And then we said, hey, we'd love to help you. Click below to find out more. And their cost per click went from over $4.50 to 26 cents. So huge difference in a very short amount of time.
Hey, Max, let me throw something out real quick. So essentially what you're saying is our ads, even though we're the pastor of the church and we think our church is the best thing ever, that maybe we shouldn't create ads trying to tell people that, because they don't know that yet. So instead of an ad that's all about me, what if I make an ad that's all about them? And I think we missed the mark on that a lot. And I always talk about this in some of my training, that we like to say things like, hey, join us. It's going to be the best Sunday ever. And the reality is it's not going to be the best Sunday ever. It's going to be the most pretty mediocre Sunday ever. But we can create a better language. I mean, when you serve your community, you don't go out and say, hey, here's some food, and then try to make it all about you. You do it selflessly, like, hey, I'm here to serve you. And so our ads, we really need to look at our ads as a way of doing ministry. I've had a lot of luck with creating ads that say, how can we pray for you? Or ads that say, what's, a question like, hey, I've got a poll question for you today. What has the pandemic, how has it affected you the most? And what do you think people need out of a church? So I'm making it about them, their opinions. And, if there's one commonality, I can talk to anyone about one common thing, anyone on any street, anywhere, in an airplane, when I talk to them about themselves. That is the topic that anyone will love to talk about. So let's create ads that create opportunities to make ministry about them and not so much about our church. They can think your church is awesome later, but for right now, let's just create something to help them know we're here and that we're here to serve them based on the felt need.
Definitely. I think it's a huge point, because right now, I mean, we're a brand new church plant. And so we, similarly to how Jesus grabbed the 12 disciples first and then really got about it, we're trying to kind of rally people who can help us reach more people. Right. And so, we're not necessarily doing massive ad campaigns targeting, atheists right now. We're kind of trying to target disconnected Christians. But when our church gets established, I think one of the biggest pipelines that will open for telling people about Jesus is going to be Alpha. And we can run ads aimed at trying to get people to Alpha. Hey, do you have questions about life, about God, about what happens when you die, about, again, you kind of get at the problems they have. We'd love to help you. Click below to find out more. Then they click, they go to a landing page on Alpha. And again, all we've done is we've created enough curiosity with the ad. And they're like, yeah, what does happen when I die? Who is God? And then they click, they go to our landing page. Landing page sells them on how Alpha is what you need to help figure out these questions that you have. They sign up for Alpha, and I'm believing we're going to see a lot of people make decisions to follow Jesus for Alpha. So it can be applied to any specific group you're trying to get people engaged in. And so the second.
Hey Max, real quick, we had a question. I'll be happy to share mine, but this is a good timing for this question. Targeted interest lists that you use for social media.
Yes, I'm assuming that's for digital ads. And I would say, again, it depends on who you're reaching. So if I was trying to target people for Alpha, I would use a completely different set of interests. I would try and target people with agnostic, atheist, general spirituality type interests. Right now, the group of people that we're targeting most expressly is people who have Christian interests. And so we've targeted, a number of different Christian bands, people who have interest in church, interest in Jesus. And then a lot of our digital ads will say, and again, studies are showing a ton of people have left churches and they're orphaned Christians right now. So a lot of our ads are you looking for a church in Naperville? Or are you looking for a church in, and then if they're already a part of a church, the answer is no, and they're not going to click the ad. But if somebody is like, I don't have a church, yes, I have been looking for a church, but I haven't found one yet, then they're going to click the ad. And so we would target people right now with Christian interests, because we're trying to really zero in on orphaned Christians. But in the days ahead with Alpha, we would target people with more atheist, agnostic, general spirituality type interests.
Okay. I'll share my response real quick. I think it's really hard to reach people that are extremely far from God through digital ads. My philosophy from day one has been, let's reach the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak, and that's people with Christian interest. And then I believe the best way to reach people that are really far from God, whether that's agnostic, atheist, just angry at the church, is through relationships and relationship equity, not through ads, so to speak. So I always have this phrase I love to use: digital ads for us as SoCo Church is we're trying to reach the people who are going to help us reach the people that we're called to reach. And I know that's kind of a weird slogan, but that's kind of our mentality. That for me, digital ads are not to reach those absolutely far from God people. The person that I say, hey, in an ad, how can we pray for you? They're not going to respond to that stuff anyway. But someone with Christian interest, they will respond, they will connect, and then they have friends that are really far from God that they can reach through their story. Does that make sense? So several questions on that, and we'll come back to that at the end. But that's my response. Go ahead.
Definitely great. So now we're going to look at once we've run digital ads, then how do we get those people to actually come in person? And so the problem that most churches have with their websites is most church websites are confusing. And that's because we say way too many things at once, and we try to get people to do way too many things. I think I have an example here that I can kind of walk everybody through. This is a church that I would say is doing it really. This is one church that needs some help and one church that's doing it incredibly well. And so I'll go ahead and swap my screen share over to my browser. And so this is a church called Church of the King. It's in Louisiana, and you go to their Little Creek campus. And when you go to their campus page, you see services, events, ministries, start here, give, jobs, contact, address. And again, I love this call to action, schedule your visit. I think that's amazing. This is the only place on the page they offer it. They talk about Spanish translation, special needs, kids ministry. I don't even know what like senior high ministry, district, worship team, prayer team, view all of our ministries, next steps, small groups, baptisms, reach our world. They talk about their Connect Cafe. They talk about their bookstore. I don't even know what the Tubes is. Branding wise, I would recommend strongly that they change that name. But they it's closed in case you were wondering. And James Turner, I know you were just riveted on whether the Tubes was open or not.
It's not. It's shut down. Sorry, guys.
So this is an example of online giving. Do you want to join our staff? Campus staff, find out about our senior pastor. Do you have any questions? Yes. Why is your website so confusing? Looking for more. In case you're not confused enough, there's more ways for you to be confused. And so this website, and again, I've worked with churches that have a website like this. Nobody takes action. Nobody fills in the form.
Is Church of the King on here? Is the pastor of the church on this call? I hope not.
Oh, if he is, email me afterwards, and we'll have a conversation. Anyway, so that's an example of a church that's not doing it very well. And there was a church that I worked with in Florida that had this same problem, all these same challenges. We swapped their website over to a single call to action, an externally facing website. And it's a church called Family Church. It's in South Florida, West Palm Beach area. And if you'll notice, the only goal of this page is to get them to plan a visit. And when they do, you capture name, email, phone number. And because they're a multi-site church, they would capture campus as well. Again, they talk about the problems people are feeling. Plan your visit. What is coming to a church service for the first time going to look like? Plan your visit. Giving people a 3-step plan that's super easy to follow. Plan your visit. Here's some testimonies of what people, what's happened in other people's lives. Plan your visit. A lot of this is for SEO, for ranking higher in Google here, but I mean, it's a single call to action. It's very clear. It's not super busy. They're not trying to hit you with 100 things at once. In the week that Family Church switched over, they didn't do any digital ads. They didn't do anything. And granted, they are, a larger multi-site church with lots of locations, but they had 40 new people plan their visit their first week they swapped over with no other additional marketing. And they didn't even announce it on their Instagrams, nothing. And 40 people planned their visit. And just from making that shift from, being very confusing and offering, so many things at the same time to a single call to action and being very clear around it. And so most churches' websites are just saying way too many things. And that's because often we don't know who our websites are for. Again, we need to have information about groups on a groups page. We need to have information about events on an events page. We need to have all that somewhere on our website, but the landing page or the campus page needs to be for a new person. And so, as a result of not knowing who our websites are for, a lot of websites are not producing results. And I hear this a lot. I know how many impressions I'm getting or how many clicks I'm getting, but I have no clue how many people actually came to my church. And there's, very, very frustrating as a pastor to not know out of all my marketing, how many butts came and sat in a seat. And this is going to allow you to be able to do that.
Hey, Max, a question here. How many of the same call to action do you recommend on your homepage? I think that's part of the problem a lot of churches are having. Even the one you just showed is we want that call to action to be very visible, a plan your visit or whatever you want to call it. But it tends to be a little difficult to make that visible everywhere they go. It's like if you missed it, if you scrolled too quick. So I noticed you put the button in a lot of places to keep it visible, but that tends to be part of the problem. And we kind of have a solution for that here in a minute as well, right?
Totally, 100%. Yeah, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but there's just, it's pretty clunky how, like, even for them, they use kind of a church management system I'd never even heard of, and so they had to kind of set it up really weird in the back end and on their website, and so there's definitely easier ways to do that, especially if you use Planning Center. And so, we're going to talk about that more in a bit, but you want to offer it as many times as possible. They say that people need to hear something 7 times before they actually take action on it. And so if you put one button somewhere on your website on a page that says, like Church of the King did, schedule your VIP visit, if you only put it one place, people are not going to click on it. Yeah. And so the page, as people scroll down, you should be able to give them all the reasons why they should plan a visit. Plan your visit, 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 plan your visit. The more times you put it there, the more likely someone is to take action on it. So I would have it in every section of your location page, or even if you're a church plant, it could be your homepage. But I would put it in every single section of that page and make that page about the new person scheduling their visit.
Sometimes people put it in the menu and it just seems to get lost a lot of times. And so we'll talk more about how you can make it very visible all across your website here in just a minute.
Definitely. And so as we talked about the goal of your campus or location page, again, your members already know your address. They already know your service times. You already have their name and email and phone number. If something changes, you can email them or text them. So they're not going to go to your campus or location page to try to find your address or your service times or whatever. So that's why that page should be for new people. It should not be to communicate with your members. And so what you want to do is you want to reach them and you want to get them to schedule their visit. And so what does this look like? You want to create a landing page that compels new people to visit your church. It's the only goal of the website. Goal of the digital ad, get them to click. Goal of the website, once they come from the digital ad, is to get them to plan their visit. And so your entire landing page needs to be around, why you should plan your visit to whatever your church is. And offer one clear call to action, which is plan your visit. Austin asked a question about homepage or landing page. If you are a brand new church plant and your homepage is that kind of external landing page, then you could use your homepage. But I would recommend setting it up as a separate landing page if you're a more established church. Your homepage is kind of like your table of contents, where you can talk about all the different things you do. It's kind of your highlights. But I would have a campus or location page that's externally facing. I mean, you can see how I've set it up on my website. I'm a brand new church plant, and I have a homepage, but I have a separate Naperville, Illinois page that people can click on. And when I do all of my Yelp, Google My Business reviews, any links that I have to my website, I always put them through to that Naperville page because that's the page that I want to rank in Google. And that's the page that I want people to come to. So I set up a separate landing page just for new people. And that's where I redirect anyone who's linking to my site. I'll have them use that link because it's externally facing. And then once they come to the page, you want to have one clear call to action, which plan your visit's a great one. Because we're only doing team gatherings right now. We're not actually doing full services. I think we have RSVP for Sunday. But if you're already doing weekly services, I'd highly recommend plan your visit. So digital ad gets them to click and go to the landing page. Landing page gets them to open up the plan your visit form and fill it out and complete it. And if you've done that, obviously you now have taken somebody from an anonymous web visitor to, Tim Smith, and you have their email and you have their phone. And now we can go about how to follow them up correctly. And so as pastors, I would argue that there are a few things that are worse than talking with a newer person in your church. And they say, hey, I filled out that Connect card you told me to. I filled out that new Christian card. I filled out that prayer card. And what happens? No one followed up with me. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but there are a few things more frustrating than I filled out a Connect card 3 times and nobody called me, or, something. It's so frustrating because someone was actively trying to get involved in your church. They were like, I'm in, and nobody followed up with them. And I think this happens for a variety of reasons. It happens because most churches don't have the right plan, and it involves way too much manual work. The majority of churches have this big stack of Connect cards after the service, and we just kind of chuck it to a follow-up team that turns into like a call center pretty much. And we don't give a lot of direction. We just say, hey, get them connected to the church. And so often there's not a great plan in place to actually give to our team who's following them up. And oftentimes we don't have the right tools. And so we do so much manual work. We're manually phone calling, we're manually texting, we're manually emailing. And when teams are spread thin, if it's manual, it's just not going to get done well because, anybody I know on a church staff or even key volunteers, you're typically doing more than one thing at the same time. And so teams are spread thin, and that's why things can fall through the cracks. And the other thing is most churches don't have the ability to track how effective their follow-up is. So everybody who filled out a Connect card from your church 6 months ago, where are they? What's happened? Where are they now? How many people filled it out, and where's each of them? And often, most of the time, we don't know. And so being able to track people effectively is critically important as well. And so what is the primary goal of our Plan Your Visit follow-up? It is to get them to show up on Sunday. So someone's come to our website, they've planned their visit. The only goal of our follow-up now is to get them to show up. That's the next step. And in order to do that, we want to make sure that they have a great experience, that they get connected with other people, because ultimately, people don't join organizations or institutions, people join people. And the church is people. And so we want to try and get them as connected as possible the first time that they come. And so how do we avoid dropping the ball on follow-up? We need to have the right plan, which includes email and text follow-up. I even, there's so many times I've planned my visit to even like corporate websites where they try and get you to fill out an interest form. You fill it out and you don't hear anything back. And so we want to make sure that we have the right text and email follow-up. We want to be able to use the right tools to track where they go. And we can get into a little bit more about what, there's a new solution that can help with that. If we look overall, the goal of the digital ad, get them to click, landing page, get them to fill out the Plan Your Visit form. Once they do that, we then want to follow them up, and then we want to get them to visit in person. So if we do these things well, we'll be able to reach new people on our website or with digital ads, get them to fill out a form, giving us first name, last name, email. I'm coming to your church at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then we're going to be able to actually follow up with them and get them to show up on the Sunday. And so again, just to recap, the best way for you to reach new people online is through digital marketing. The best way to turn your marketing budget into new church visitors is by getting them to plan a visit to your church, which is done on our website. And this has been incredibly difficult until now. Even working with churches, I've had to like rig like 5 softwares together and do Zapier integrations and all this kind of stuff to be able to get this to work. And it's been incredibly frustrating. And that's because form builders are not set up for churches. And they, even a planner visit form with a pop-up that comes up, I can't even do that in Planning Center. And so there's a challenge around that. Most church management systems typically don't integrate with whatever the form is that most churches use. So you end up with information in multiple places, balls get dropped, emails and texts are sent manually, which means they often don't happen. And follow-up doesn't have a good plan. And then ultimately that leads to a bad experience for whoever filled out the form and whoever we're trying to get to come to our church. And so that basically led to how do we create something that easily gets people to plan their visit and give their details. How do we do this from one system that integrates a planning center? How do we send emails and texts automatically to remove manual work and set up our teams for a win? And how do we train our teams and help them to actually maximize the follow-up effort they're doing, which again, all of this is, we want to make it as easy as possible for a new person to come to our church, because we can forget how intimidating it is for a new person to walk through the doors of a church for the first time. And that, Brad, do you want to talk about Visit Planner?
Yeah. So if you know me just a little bit, I have a background in marketing, and so I've helped churches with marketing for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've never charged a dime. And there for a while, I mean, even now, I spend way too much time trying to do kind of one-to-one coaching, helping churches with marketing. Max, I know you do the same. And so the pandemic gave me some time to think through some different tools and ways that I could help serve churches in a way that I have the capacity for. So being from a marketing and a programming background, we created a great tool. And there's some other tools out there. One is no longer available to sign up for. I had used it for a while. I had been trying to get them to create integrations and make changes. And then finally, never got any responses. And now I think it's been sold off. So I got with some really great developers, and we have created incredible software. And so this is the first time in the history of me helping churches that I've ever put an offer out there that actually costs something. Now, here's something that really means a lot to me, is to not just create something to help you from a software standpoint, but teaching you how to use it well. So we try to go through some real practical things here on an hour call, but we've also created a library that will continue to grow of videos that will teach you and your team how to put the great language that you need on your website. Stop saying things about us, and make it more about them. How to create SEO and set up SEO so that you do find yourself on the first few search pages of Google. How to create these plan your visits, or at least ads that will get people to a website where it works, and how to make I always say this in my training, you need to have a goal to make your website the best website in the entire community. Your church always should be your goal, even if it's impossible because there's a mega church with 15 people on staff that only focus on their website. It should never take away from your goal of having the best website in the entire city, because it is the front door. It is where people are going to go to research you. So with Plan Your Visit, this is actually going to allow you to have a ton of automated tools for follow-up. It's going to send texts, which, by the way, there's not any form of communication that has a greater open rate than text messaging. It's going to send text messages to people when they sign up, and you can customize all that. You can send multiple. You can send one an hour before they arrive, reminding them. You can send emails telling them what to expect. For instance, hey, we want to help kind of break down the barrier. So we want to tell you where to park. We want to tell you who to come find. We want to tell you what to do if you have kids. We want to tell you how to dress. All those questions that people have, which is something I love to teach on. Every form of our marketing needs to be something that answers questions. And so we're giving you tools to do that. And here's another cool thing. This is integrating both with MailChimp and Planning Center. So you can get a Plan Your Visit sent directly into a workflow of your choice in Planning Center, so that your volunteers or your staff now have the ability to follow up really well. But we also have some really cool follow-up communication within the software for after people have come on their first time as well. And I think we have, one of our users here. We haven't really announced this publicly until today, but I believe you can show one of my friends has the software here. Do you have that website up, Max, that you can show that? Just a quick view. We talked about earlier how hard it is to get a plan your visit button up that is visible to people. And I think Max is going to show you one of the websites here. You can see here in the corner, lots of customizations. You can edit the colors, the text. You can put when the next service is going to be. You can show how many people have planned their visit. There's all kinds of things you can do. And what's cool is no matter what website, what web page you go to on this website, that is always going to be visible. It's always going to be in their face. Hey, plan your visit, plan your visit, plan your visit. All those things you talked about, you spent all that money in that digital ad. You spent that money telling them how, if they're struggling with anxiety, worry, whatever, we're a place for you. Well, now they can plan their visit. And let me just throw this out. You love getting Connect cards, but how much more valuable can you make a visit if you can get the Connect card before they even show up? Churches are missing this opportunity. We love to curate visits, and we get so many compliments on this. We've been doing this exact strategy for the last year and a half, and this is not a joke number. Over 1,000 people have gone to our website, planned their visit, given me their name, their email, their phone number, and told me when and where they are coming. I mean, when you have a guest coming to your house, you know when and where they're coming so that you can plan well for them. The same thing for the church. So we're able to do things like have a handwritten card with their name on the envelope as they arrive because we know who's coming. We also have options coming that are going to allow you to check their kids in and let you know if they have kids so you know more. It's also a really great tool. Here's something we started doing because of the information. We're able to look for them. And a lot of guests like to come in and kind of stay quiet, but if they plan their visit, typically they're also going to connect with someone on your team. And now I'm able to send a text message with a video from me. I'm literally holding my phone up saying, hey, Max Lyons, I'm so glad you and your wife came this Sunday. I didn't get to meet you, or maybe I did get to meet you. I heard your kids had a great time back in our SoCo Kids. And I send these text message videos to people and it blows their mind. They cannot believe that me or someone on our staff will do that. That's all happening because I'm able to get all of this data on the front end. And so curating a visit is something big organizations spend millions of dollars to do, and you can do it as well. And I'm so excited to offer not only this service and this software, but also this training that's going to be an ever-evolving library from people like Max, myself, also some big name people in the church world that are going to help teach on different things, not even just focusing on plan your visits, but how to be a better communicator, how to work with your first impressions teams better, all kinds of stuff because of the relationships that I have. And here's the cool thing, it's sustainable for me. I'm now able to start providing a new level of service to help pastors out that literally I can keep track of and keep up with. So that's what I have. Max, back to you.
Great. And John asked a question. Do you send those texts, Brad, from your personal cell phone?
So if I have, and I do sometimes, but we just got a new phone for the church, and it's a number that we just keep in the office. And so to a degree, it is mine, but it stays here in the office, and my assistant helps me with that for follow-up and responses. So it's really kind of a form of communication. If somebody, now has my number and needs some help or has a question all through the week in the office, that is still available. I tried doing like a Google number or something like that, but I couldn't find a good service that would allow me to quickly record a video. So on that, let me just also mention that this is the very starting point of this software. We're also going to try to create some additional tools that, I don't know if you've ever seen Cameo before, where these celebrities, they record a video to a friend that you can customize, and you can see that they're actually reading something. So we're wanting to create some tools within the software where you can see this person's information and you're able to actually send a text video right from the software to people. You are a volunteer, and it will enable you to kind of leave your personal number and information out of that. So We also have several other integrations we're working on. If you're not using Planning Center, maybe you're using Rock CMS or something like that, we'll be adding all of these different integrations as well. And the really cool thing about this is, again, there's some other tools I've used that it was a really great tool, but they never made any changes. Literally, we're at the baseline. Literally, this is just enough to get you going. And we're constantly going to be evolving this, and it's going to turn into something way greater than just a plan your visit button. It's really going to turn into a coaching and service and helping churches become better communicators, pastors become better communicators. I think there's a lot of services out there that simply want to help you get visitors, but if the service isn't good and your church isn't good, then they don't really like to tell you how many people stayed. They just want to tell you how many people they got to your church. I can help any church get visitors, but I also want to help churches keep visitors. And so that's a big part of my heart for this. And again, hundreds of hours I've given away to help churches. This is by far the first time I've ever charged for something, because I truly believe it is worthwhile and it 100% works. And I can't wait for it to work for you.
Definitely. And so, I mean, as Brad mentioned, and we've talked about before, I mean, the old forms, you can only really put them on one page. It requires typically all the details in advance. I think we've all seen those web forms on someone's website where it's like 13 questions and you're like, I'm not filling that out. And there's no built-in way to communicate with people. It doesn't really help you do anything with the data you're capturing. So you have this big spreadsheet of all this information and you don't really know what to do with it. And as Brad mentioned, Visit Planner helps people to plan their visit from anywhere on your website. It presents it one question at a time, so it's super easy to fill out. And it's a great user experience, which means more people are going to fill it out. It's easy to set up automated texts and emails before they arrive, and then it integrates a Planning Center so that no balls are dropping between, your plan your visit form and your church management system. And so this is ultimately going to help you to get more people to actually come in person and be part of your church. It's going to help you do a lot more things automatically, which creates less overwhelm on your team. And it's going to help you to be able to track people effectively. And so how much does it cost? Great question. So as Brad mentioned, it's a software. There's training around how to use it well. There's templates for here's what you can say for a follow-up email. Here's what you would say in a follow-up text. As Brad mentioned, text message open rates are about 98%. Emails are about 20%. So texting is critically important. And then even there's digital ad templates around what could you actually say in a digital ad. Monthly webinars where you can jump in and ask, even part of it live Q&A, and then access to all future features that are going to be rolled out, facilitated peer-to-peer coaching, content library, as Brad talked about, and then access to any exclusive content around how to up your preaching game or how to help with whatever it is that's going to be helpful for church leaders. And with this, there were kind of two options. One was, do you create a decent product and try and give it away as absolutely, dirt cheap as possible? Or do you invest a little bit more and create something that's a great product that's really going to help a lot more people and a lot more church leaders? Brad ultimately went with, hey, let's create a great product for just a little bit more. And so all of these different things we've talked about, the price point was around $99 a month. But because obviously it's a brand new software, it's 50% discounted because this is kind of the first wave of getting churches into it. And so, as Brad mentioned, he's already using it. Multiple churches are already using it, but it's a brand new product that's rolled out. And so the price point is going to be $49 a month, or there's a 15% discount annually. So that's where the price point's at.
Awesome.
And I think it's important to note, like, the average giver per year is about $884 a year. Tither average household income in 2021 is $79,900. Obviously, that's a whole household. And so, in order to reach somebody and get them to become a part of our church, and I think it's important, like, especially with my marketing background, like, people are not financial figures, right? People are people, and we're trying to reach souls. But I think it's also important to realize if we invest in something that's not producing a return, it becomes problematic because we invest in something and eventually we're going to run out of steam. And so investing in our marketing, again, if even one new person joins one of our churches a year and they just become kind of a casual giver, it's going to be a huge step forward. If Someone joins in tithes, it's going to, obviously be a game changer. And so if one new person a month, two new people a month, and so, what exactly is, what is it going to look like at our churches? Again, it depends on how we apply it, but this is an investment that is going to produce a return. And so if you're like, hey, I don't know how to create digital ads, I don't know how to make a good landing page, I don't know what to say in my follow-up text, I don't know how to use the software, great, there are trainings for all of that. And so it's going to help you get the most out of Visit Planner. It's going to help you set up digital ads that work. It's going to help you create great landing pages and great follow-up messages that get people to respond. And so how do you sign up? Well, you can go to visitplanner.church and click Start Here. And that's going to take you through to another page where you can enter your personal details and payment info, and then you start applying it and then reaching new people online.
Yeah, and if you go on there right now, you'll also, there's videos to show you how to get all of this, the code on your website, regardless of if you're using WordPress or Wix or Squarespace. We have instructions. It's very simple. And like Max said, there's also a library. We already currently have around 10 or 12 videos that are super nuts and bolts, applicable things you can do to help you with ads, with website, all the stuff I've been trying to teach, as well as Max's just tons of information that he knows. We're giving all this to you because we don't, again, just want to give you this piece of software. We want to help you use it really well.
Totally. And so here's just a few more. And again, I think it's important to note, like, if you're frustrated with your marketing, there's a few small tweaks that can yield a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with churches that were struggling with digital ads. And really after just a few tweaks, they were able to, and again, this is a bigger multi-site church, but they were able to actually reach thousands of new people through digital ads. And then another church was super, super frustrated with their website. And then we're able to reach a whole lot more people online. And so I think it's important, like, if we're frustrated with our marketing, it doesn't take as drastic of changes as we would think. And so it's actually, much, the answer could be much, much simpler than we think. And so, again, how do we sign up? And then also, if you want more help and you're like, hey, this Visit Planner thing sounds great, but I actually need a lot more help. Like, how do I rank higher in Google? And how do I want kind of more hands-on help? I would say anybody on this call, I will give a 15-minute free whatever you want, like website audit, look at digital ads, literally anything that you want or need. Again, I'm in the middle of planning a church. I've got, I'm working outside of that to pay the bills. And so it's 15 minutes because my time is very short. But I want to help as many churches as I can. I do monthly consulting, but again, there's no obligation for any of that at all. I just want to try and help as many people as I can. So 15 minutes, free, whatever's the most helpful for you. Send me an email, max@maxmlions, and we'll find a time to connect in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Max is amazing. I love, before you ask a question, let me just throw out, today is my birthday, so this would be the greatest gift you could give to me. Also, if I have helped you in any way, through video, through coaching, whatever, hopefully it was worth $50 to you, so at least give it a month. And if nothing else, you can help me figure out how we can make the software better over the month, and then you can cancel it if you want after a month. But I promise you it's going to be worth every bit of it. And I would also love if you would help me get the word out. That would mean a lot to me. If you get it installed and you like it, that would be awesome. So feel free to hit some questions. I saw someone ask here, does it integrate with Breeze? Does it CCB? So right now, only with PCO. However, there's a lot of tools in it. You don't have to have an integration with your CMS yet. You can make it work really well without that, but we are working to integrate with other systems as well. We just knew a majority of people were on Planning Center. There are some other good ones out there. Personally, if you're using like Church Community Builder or Fellowship One, I would recommend moving to something else anyway. But we will be adding those. And so feel free, once you sign up, there's communication tools. I'd love for you to let me know what you're using. And we're also going to have options in there where you can tell us what you want, what do you need, what would help you. That was what I struggled with the software I was using. I would ask for all these changes and things, and no one would respond. So Feel free to ask any questions right now in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to let you go and believe you're going to go sign up and it's going to change your life. All right. Thank you, guys. I think we answered all the questions. Max, thanks for offering that as well. I would highly recommend take Max up on those 15 minutes. Does it integrate with builders like the Church Co? Yeah, it will be able to, Ryan. I don't know exactly how that one would work, but they could help you with that. And I'll see if more people have that, and we'll get a video made on how to add that code as well. But it really will work with anything because they're all built similarly, same type of, HTML, whatever. So the HTML code we have, it will work on any type of website. But the majority of them, the ones that most people use, are listed in the videos are in there to show you how to do all that. Yeah. Okay, Max, I think our time is up, man. Thank you, Max. I'm telling you, this guy is a genius, and really honored all of you would jump on. Again, please help us get the word out about this, and I can't wait to hear your stories, and hopefully we'll capture some of those as well in the future. Feel free to hit us up with any questions, and I hope you have a great day.